All right. Hello everyone. Welcome to this final session of the CryptoArt Week Asia. We're the closing session. Really happy to be here with you for this grand final. I'm here together with Krista, Kim, and Eddy Travia. Today, we're going to have a very lively conversation around the metaverse and the possibilities behind to expose your art and engage with communities and everything that's been enabling already and what we project in the future. My name is Sebastien Borget. I'm the CEO and co-founder at the Sandbox, which is a decentralized gaming virtual world where creators can make 3D assets, 3D games, and monetize them through the use of NFTs. I've been an avid member of the community, a pioneer in NFT for the past 3 years, also a supporter of the Blockchain Game Alliance, a president of the Blockchain Game Alliance, supporter of the whole ecosystem, and who are 235 members, and starting to dive into art with some partners like Kadaf, Mokda, Kevin Abosch, and many others that are now joining our virtual world. So I'm very looking forward to today's conversation where I'll be diving even further. Without any further ado, I'd love to have our guests introduce themselves as well, starting with Krista.
Thank you so much, Sebastien. I'm so happy to be here and to discuss the metaverse with such an incredible panel. Yes, I'm a digital artist. I've been a digital artist since 2013. I'm a founder of the Techism art movement, whereby I believe that artists should be at the vanguard of technological innovation in collaboration with engineers and entrepreneurs to create a more humane society that is tech. And I recently created the Mars House, which is the first NFT metaverse house that was sold in the world last March, which is quite exciting. And I'm very surprised at how quickly the world has suddenly paid attention now to the metaverse and the future of our XR lifestyle, which is coming very soon. I'm looking forward to this discussion. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Eddy.
Yes, thank you, Sebastien. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Eddy Travia. I've been in this space since 2013, mainly as an investor through a company called Coinsilium. And the link with the CryptoArt Week Asia is through an NFT marketplace, which is operated by a company in which we invested a few years back, which is based in Singapore, and the marketplace is called minty.art, which is spinning a bit the concept of patronage in the digital world. And I'm also, as someone who has been in crypto for a while, I'm also a bit surprised by how much NFTs, and of course in the space of metaverse and digital art, has actually propelled blockchain, let's say, blockchain and its applications to the forefront. And it has become a kind of a adoption vector that we didn't really see coming. And that's always good news to have more people interacting with blockchain in whatever form and for whatever purpose. But this is a great direction. And so I'm very pleased to be here talking about metaverse and NFTs and crypto art in general with you, Sebastien, and Krista.
Great, thanks for this introduction. So I guess maybe a first question I would like to ask you is, how did you decide to enter one of those metaverse? Like, what was some of the reasons that drove you to one day find out about, or maybe Decentraland, CryptoVoxel, or Sandbox, and say, I'm going to build something there and use that space to express to convey a message, to express what I want?
This is a question for me, Sebastien. So
well, I feel you can answer that, yes, but maybe Eddy has some to add, of course.
Yeah, it's a good question. Thank you. So the Mars House, when I created it on Unreal Engine, I created it during the height of the COVID crisis last year. And it was really, when I was stuck in my condo in the middle of this lockdown, and I said, I'm going to escape to a beautiful place. I'm going to create my dream home. And my dream home will be one of meditation, healing. I want the home with the latest technology to be like a sculpture of healing, right, for the user, for the guest. So this is how the idea of Mars House came about. I started creating meditative Zen, digital Zen design concepts. And then I finished the project between March and May. I created about 4 different concepts with the Mars House. And then I sort of discovered the concept of NFTs and decentralization in December of last year. I'm pretty late to the game, but I was looking for alternative investments for my portfolio, and I started researching Bitcoin and Ethereum and learning about decentralization on the blockchain, and became very, very passionate about this and the the social and greater macroeconomic and social effects, the positive effects of decentralization. And so I researched blockchain for art, and then NFTs popped out, and then super rare. And so my journey came from the application of blockchain for artists. And then, of course, I got a phone call from, I mean, not a phone call, a Zoom. I did a Zoom call with Rish Lotlikar, who's the CEO of Superworld. I'm the global ambassador for Superworld. It's an augmented reality interface of the entire globe, where you're selling digital real estate on that is mapped onto the real world, and you can upload 3D digital assets to experience through augmented reality. And eventually, when we have Apple glasses, the world will change because of this AR interface that we are going to encounter soon. So knowing this and researching about the metaverse in general, between XR, like VR, and AR platforms, I knew that the Mars House could live as a house in the metaverse and be experienced and owned as an asset, as a virtual property through the NFT minting process. So that is when I decided to take the Mars House and offer it as the first metaverse house, and have it uploaded in the metaverse of the owner, because I knew that a lot of the crypto art collectors are actually building their own museums, building their own galleries on Decentralization, CryptoVoxel, Sandbox, whatever. So they want to show their art, right? And they want interoperability of NFT assets in all these different platforms. They want to have access to their NFTs if they buy it on Super Rare, to show it in any platform. So I became very excited about this. And I had the opportunity to actually upload Mars House onto Spatial, which is now basically pivoting from a meeting metaverse for corporate meetings and such, to an art-focused NFT display-focused platform. So yeah, now the focus is to try and bring the house to many different platforms, and Decentraland, CryptoVoxels, maybe even Sandbox. I want to have Mars House in different metaverse, just to show that this house can actually live in the metaverse. People can own a house, people can own digital assets of all kinds, fashion, houses, etc., art. So this is how I learned about metaverse, and this is my introduction.
Fantastic. And I think we have a lot to connect with, like beside housing. I think like you need to have a digital identity, an avatar that will going to represent you. And so once we have avatar, housing is going to be a major use case for everyone in the metaverse. But it's great you were the one that really pioneered here, came up with the idea, and now I think in a couple of months it will become a mainstream aspect for everyone who enters those worlds. And you, Eddy, what drive you into metaverse more specifically? Are you a collector yourself? You mentioned you were an investor. Did you collect NFTs? Did you build a gallery, or you own some virtual land as well? Can you tell us a little bit more?
Yes, well, in a way, I came into this space first from an investor point of view. I mean, I've been investing, but I've also been kind of supporting and mentoring and guiding a lot of entrepreneurs in this space. So that's kind of my what I've been doing now for about 8 years in crypto and blockchain. And for me, I was drawn first. I mean, I knew, of course, in the ICO years, I knew about some companies like Decentralization doing ICOs before they actually built the platform. I knew about the Sandbox as well. Probably, I think last year I started knowing about it because, again, on the investment side, I knew that it was a company either raising funds or pre-selling land, or it was quite interesting. So I had some interactions this way, but I think the very interesting part is that we're moving now beyond just replicating, let's say, what we know in the real world. And now the virtual world, I think, starts to have its own creativity. I mean, obviously what Krista was describing is very interesting. But I think what it shows is that it shows the potential for a lot of people to be creative in their own way, in these metaverses and in these new places where they can interact with other artists. They can interact with buyers. They can interact with users or people who just visit. So it's really very interesting, the fact that we are moving in a world now where there are new relationships, new connections being created in these spaces. And I think if you allow it, Sebastien, I'll also will ask you as well, because I think I'm interested, and I'm sure the audience is also very interested, is how you came about creating the Sandbox and leading that company, and what is as well kind of your real interest and what kind of the end goal, how far do you see the Sandbox and other metaverses going? And I think that would be very interesting for me to know. So I kind of turn around the table, as we say, and ask you more about your own experience, please.
Of course, thank you for that. I've been a fervent supporter of NFTs, a pioneer among the builders. It all started about a decade ago. We came up with the idea, the concept of Sandbox. It started as a mobile game where users could essentially make their own 2D pixelated world just by the touch of a finger on a screen and share that that creation into an online gallery. It turned quickly into a massive success, and because it was easy, it was accessible. Any players could become a creator from their mobile phone and express themselves here, express their feeling or create games, draw pixel art, etc. It grew so much into success. We had 40 million installs, 70 million player-made creation, and we were earning a good revenue stream from the exploitation of that game. At the same time, we felt something was missing. Like, creators contributed to all the content of the game. They were the reason of the success of the game, and yet they were not fairly rewarded for that. We couldn't, basically. The platform, the Apple Store, the Google Play Store, etc., they couldn't allow us to set in place the incentives, the reward mechanism for all the content they brought on. So toward the end of 2017, when we saw the first CryptoPunk and CryptoKitties, we immediately saw the potential of applying the technology behind NFTs to just allow anyone to make their own punk, their own kitties, essentially offer an NFT maker to everyone, and hence solve that problem, allow anyone to be a creator, to own those creations, to be able to trade them on to other users, to sell them on marketplaces and monetize them. From there, we thought that we needed to build a new product, a new platform, this time 3D, multiplayer, multi-platform, to truly utilize this new paradigm change where the builder of the world are the main stakeholder of its success, and they contribute to the value, they get the value for themselves and for the community that are going to build around them. So we built that virtual world. We provided different creation tools. We chose voxel as an aesthetic. It was kind of a natural evolution from 2D pixel art to 3D voxel, but it proved also to make Sandbox really have its own identity and tools that are very versatile, because voxel, you can have low resolution, accessible, think of it as digital Legos, but also very high detailed elements that could literally take hours, this week, months of work, tens of thousands of hours, and hence can be very valuable behind. And those are the example of those hundreds of thousands Lego pieces we see in museum, for example. From there, we also wanted to provide a utility to the NFTs. It was not for us, it was not just about creating scarcity or working on aesthetic, but also enabling anyone to build their own games with our game maker using those NFTs. And it turned out progressively from our background into gaming into a much more entertainment-oriented platform, where not only you could make your own games, your own stories, your own adventures, etc., but now, as we also leverage some of our previous experience working with IPs, become really a sort of like virtual theme park, all sorts of experiences ranging from art, virtual concert, museum, and definitely housing as well. Like we're thinking, hey, I can create and design a world that's not only like an external landscape, but could be an interior, could be a building, could be a shopping mall, could be my own house. And with the versatility of the tools, people started to import NFTs and display them, and then use voxel to create an ambience around it and feel like it's a cozy place where they could come and hang around with others, etc. So really also seeing the community use the tool, and just like as always with user-generated content, find new ways to express, to socialize, to interact with others through them. And that's where we are now. Like we have a fantastic community, 200,000 registered users, hundreds of creators who've been taking voxel one step further, who've been making NFTs, and also who are owning lands in our world. So lands is quite an interesting concept. It's a scarce resource. There's only 166, 164 in Sandbox. And when you buy a land in Sandbox, you can put your logo on top of it. So it really reinforces the idea of ownership, the first thing, and communities behind, because people want to be neighbor with someone else. They don't want to be alone into the metaverse. They want to be next to a certain person or a certain brand or a certain cultural reference, which could be an IP or something that speaks to them more personally. And through that connection, being next to each other, they can start creating projects, envisioning things that just transcend the idea of this is only a thing where I'm going to be alone. The metaverse, I think, is a very social place. And if you have a house in the metaverse, it's not just to sit alone in your house. You want a house because you want to welcome guests at any time into it, and you want to meet new people and interact with them. And that's, it's great to see also like that vision. Where are we going from there? I think NFTs have enabled like any digital asset to be holding value. We've seen that with Beeple, we've seen that with the Mars house typically, and more content. And from there, now that assets have value, we can see a whole digital economy built on top of those assets. It could be services, new jobs, like architect, artist, fashion designer for avatars, NFTs, community manager, landowners who own land to rent it to other users, virtual real estate, people who are going to sell you those parcels or those virtual houses as well, who helps you find your right place. Coaches, people who will also help you to run yoga, meditation, why not sport for your avatar, training it, etc. And there's other aspects related to gaming and play to earn that we can touch about. But for me, the grand vision is, as we are going to spend more time into those metaverses, it's very logical that there is a whole digital economy and new jobs that develop. And this should be a social experience where will never be alone, will always be something new to discover, to experience, and participate in.
I have a question. So, for me, I think that, a lot of, every organization, every brand, every artist will eventually go into the tokenization, into the metaverse brand experience and community building, marketing paradigm, a whole new paradigm, whereby just like when you're on Sandbox, the participants of that community are actually co-creating. And so I see the emergence more of, people interested in co-creating and collaboration, into the actual identity and contributing to what the brand or the community is, essentially, right? So I think that a lot of, like, when I speak to brands and I do some consulting, I actually tell them you have to be open to creating a metaverse community and then allowing your community to also contribute to the culture of your brand. Be open to it, because decentralization is not only a DeFi phenomenon or a financial mechanism phenomenon, it is also a cultural phenomenon. So the money that we use, the medium of communication and commerce that we use will affect our culture. And what decentralization does is it creates sovereign individuals. And so when you have sovereign individuals, you have less of a conformist culture, or especially conformist consumer culture, right? It's more of a collaborative experience. So these are different phenomena that I'm very, very interested in monitoring and capturing, because I feel the essence of these movements happening right now. I would say within 10 years, people are going to be living a metaverse lifestyle. And that also includes the interoperability between VR and AR and in real life. So this is something I'd also like to ask the panelists, like, how do you see the future? Do you see it as interoperable, or do you see planets of centralized platforms functioning in tandem? What do you see?
We're trying to build an open metaverse where it will not be planets siloed everywhere, but more like we welcome any NFT through bridges, and essentially even enable to give life to those NFTs. So if you own a CryptoPunk, if you own a Bored Ape or a CryptoKitty, the proof of ownership will give you a virtual representation of that CryptoPunk, no more as a 2D image, but as a 3D playable character that could match exactly the aesthetic, and hence get additional utility from the ownership of that punk, which could have been your identity. Now it's a 3D character that only you can have and still define your identity into the metaverse, and then allows you to play, to interact with others into Sandbox, but hopefully other virtual world. And that's the idea, like sovereign, more than the sovereign individual. For me, it's like you're your sovereign bank, sovereign digital asset. So all your belongings, whether they are game items, creations, etc. And indeed, the idea of sovereign identity through the avatar that could be transportable and usable across, hopefully, several open metaverses: Sandbox, Decentralization, Somnium Space, and CryptoVoxel. And through that, you will also be able to experience different things with that avatar. Like Somnium Space is going to be a more VR experience, where you can immerse with your headset. CryptoVoxel, a more accessible, browser-based, lo-fi. Decentralization is more around events and etc. And Sandbox might be more gamified. So you might fight, you might complete quests and engage with play to earn through that. And it's up to the user. That's part key also in the choice of decentralization. Users and community get to choose where they can spend time through that. They are no longer locked into one space for all those digital assets, digital good, and identity behind.
Mm. Hmm. And what about augmented reality? Because, you know, once Apple Glasses comes out with their glasses, it's going to change the world, right? We know this. I mean, everybody's going to enhance their physical reality with 3D digital assets and experiences, and NFTs will then shift into the experience, not so much just the, you know, the static digital file. And so I'm wondering if you have a vision for augmented reality integration for your community.
I think we are already trying to essentially, I would say, like over the 10-year horizon, it's a possibility. Usually, as we are trying to build a platform that also is going to cater to a mainstream audience, bring in not just the 1,000, but hopefully the millions, if not the billions of users, we'll get to start on PC, then offer mobile, and then offer like which device is the most seamless to enter an experience and play with it. So one thing that AR is going to need is a lot of content production. However, like producing all those, recreating, augmenting the reality of certain places, modelizing it in 3D, adding information, adding extra data. Those are all thousands of jobs that are going to be needed to produce all that massive digital library of content, so that is not going to be an empty world. Right now, I'm already experiencing that in Sandbox. Like we want to launch something, and as a UGC platform, you always have this chicken and egg issue. So we will solve it by incentivizing content creator initially until there is enough content and high quality experiences, so more will come on board and be inspired by what they already see there. And I think probably one of the challenges is not just the technology itself, but like really offering enough experiences and content so that even if I own the device, I have really great stuff to experience, and that keeps coming back. That makes me keep coming back. So there are like mechanics behind of comeback design, rewards, gamified loops, etc. as well. And that will take probably time, but I definitely see it happening. You know, like that Ready Player One movie.
Absolutely.
We're building the essence of it, like you're saying at the moment.
I agree.
And maybe Eddy.
I would love to. Yes, Eddy. Yes. Any thoughts, Eddy?
No, very interesting. Listening to both your visions. I mean, to go back on decentralization, I mean, I agree, Krista. I think what we have seen is that decentralization, yes, it's not a concept you can apply only in one sector or in one part of your organization. It's a different mindset, and that's why there are not really many decentralized projects at the moment. There are many that claim to be decentralized, or there is kind of a spectrum, and it's not easy for organizations in general to move towards a decentralized model, because there are so many uncertainties, and the way we are used to assess value and the way we're used to assess let's say the wealth that is being created by an organization, it's a concept that is very much embedded in our culture and in our, let's say, early education, despite the fact that we know that our early education, we need to survive, we need to update it very regularly, because it's all kind of,
we need to bring it to the metaverse.
Yes. So I agree, decentralization is a very important part of all this, and that project I was mentioning, the one called the NFT marketplace called Minty.art, is interesting in the sense that they bring back a very old concept, which is patronage, which is not, which of course has never really disappeared, but we all usually associate it to Renaissance artists and so forth, and bringing it to a much more democratized, decentralized way, whereby it's basically becomes a financing mechanism that really is easy to apply in the metaverse or in the NFT world, where you can you will get something of value and you will get something unique, but you can also get a fraction of something, or you can really itemize what you get for it. So for example, I don't know, you pay 1 ETH and you get a certain NFT, which is can be part of a larger artwork, can be a fraction of in the Sandbox case, I guess, a fresco or a house or a land, a piece of land, whatever. I mean, this fractionalization is great to democratize the whole sector as well, and also enable creators who don't have the funding to actually do it and finance their work. I wrote about DeFi last year in July, and how DeFi can be bridged to the real world. And one of the criticism I had with DeFi, and I think it's pretty obvious, is the fact that if you don't really have a minimum of a background in finance, a minimum of background in crypto, and a minimum set tools of a good internet connection and so forth, you cannot use DeFi at the moment. If you don't have all this, you can use it very in the wrong way, and which is worse, right? So I see that my concern, I would say, in the metaverse world is that we don't reproduce or create a larger divide, digital divide that already exists, and we on the opposite, we try to solve it in a way. I mean, from what you said, Krista, I can see that you want people to come from any origin, any parts of life, and actually be part of that experience, and I think that's great. And I think that's one of the problems we have today, is that the crypto world in general, including metaverse, moves at a very high speed, as we know. Every week something can happen. Every week another technology can come forward, and so forth. How do all of us keep up with that? Not only the ones that are already in this space, have already a bit of information and understand a bit the complexities of this world. So I think that's kind of a challenge we have as well. The whole community is facing how we bring adoption and how we bring even more people without creating further a larger gap between us or between the users of this space and the newcomers.
Right. So I would say that's a very good question. For me, I don't really, I always think about how the application can serve humanity as the first point of, my thought process when I could look at a platform or any metaverse application, right? Because I honestly believe that if you create a platform that actually allows people to be co-creative, allows people to have a co-vesting opportunity and ownership, that it automatically will attract adoption. And it is all about education, I believe, getting out there, just like informing people about what this truly is, taking the mystery out of it. The good thing is that it's a gamified experience, so it's quite harmless, and people, join Sandbox without thinking twice, or they upload 3D objects on, Superworld because they want to play with these objects in the real space. Play is probably the best, sort of like frictionless adoption that you can think of for Metaverse. But for me, I think my concern is about, what kind of world are we building? Because we are right now at the forefront of a whole new universe of social interaction and human civilization. So we're creating carte blanche, right? So what I want is I want to make sure that what we build has a very humane foundation to become standard, so that we're not creating the same old, power dynamics or anything, and same old systems in the new world. I want to make sure that art is a major focus of this world, because I believe that art really is an expression of humanity, and the more that we have it in this space, the healthier it is. But at the same time, I want to make sure that people also in the future, like I'm talking about my children are 13 and 11. I want them to live a balanced lifestyle. right? I don't want them full-time in VR, not actually contributing their human capital into the real world. I think the real world is very important. I think that human life can be enhanced with XR, but we also have to make sure that we are grounded in, finding a way to bridge, the virtual with the real and make that connection. There are many ways to do that, and we can discuss that, but these are the primary, points that I'm focused on at the moment.
That's beautiful goals. And I think like we have a chance really thinking also like how we make a profound impact on existing generation of human, but the next one as well, to enable new economic systems, to enable new paradigms where, again, like being your own bank, owning your own asset, owning your own data, owning your own identity, those might mean maybe just optional things for us, because we've grown accustomed to an old system. We've grown accustomed in a world where these things were not ours, so we never cared about. But if you grow up in a world where right from the beginning, you own your NFT as the asset, you do not just rent them and pay real money for fake assets in a way, you will just find it normal. And just like the Gen Z is born with mobile instead of like radio tape player, they will not know what was before, and they will just become regular. And as soon as they accept this, I think they will be better for them, but better for the community as a whole. Like it will be more inclusive. It will be also more respectful of it's your identity. I respect you own it, so I have to ask you more for how I can interact with you. Also, we can be in metaverse. Something that I'm very attached to is like, I think chances are more fair, because you're not, who you are is not defined by where you were born, what education you have received, the social status of your parents, which made you maybe more or less lucky. You're just a 3D avatar. You choose your appearance, and people will judge you and interact with you based on the things you accomplish and the person you truly are into those space. So if you contribute value, it doesn't matter if you're someone who actually live in India, in France, in US, in Japan, etc. It's just like people will value you for the contribution you bring to the community, and hence it will enable potentially with governance new political system into those virtual world where we finally can reach better a lot of the things that we were aspiring to in the real world but might not be possible to change, whereas the digital world offers these opportunities.
You know what? I love these points, Sebastien. I have been really thinking about the future paradigms of, politics and, on a macro level globally. This is all going to be disrupted with the adoption of Metaverse, because as he had mentioned, people are living a transcendent existence, transcending the current power structures and political structures, institutions, everything that has existed since the Industrial Revolution, past World War II. All of these systems are going to be disrupted and basically simply ignored. And just, another layer, the metaverse layer of life, will simply exist above it. And so people will transcend these old paradigms and beliefs and ideologies and dogma, et cetera, et cetera. And so therefore you're creating a whole new level of interaction, which is transcendent. And so I'm very hopeful that in the future, we will actually transcend the nation state, the whole idea of it and the structure of it globally. I believe that people will actually engage in education that is a global education through the metaverse, through XR, right? Imagine you have children who want to learn about the pyramids. You can go there, you can be there through metaverse experiences, both AR and XR, VR. You can actually be there and interact with children from that space, make friends with people from all over the world and educate one another with no travel restrictions, no visas, no politics, no religion. All of that baggage is simply ignored. And so this is a wonderful opportunity for an incredible unifying sort of transcendent human civilization going forward.
Absolutely.
It's interesting. I mean, I see a lot of optimism, which is great. I mean, obviously, when I started in this space in 2013, it reminds me of well, first of all, I would say my internet years in the 90s, where we could expect a lot of things that not everything happening with the internet, but obviously internet still obviously the infrastructure, the backbone of everything we're doing now with cryptocurrencies, and in a way we called, of course, cryptocurrencies kind of the internet native currencies. And it's very interesting from what you both say. I mean, Sebastien, the kind of the social clean slate that you're mentioning, you know, like starting from a new social position in the metaverse. I think that's quite interesting. Also in the metaverse, in a way you can have this kind of almost cathartic benefit, because, you know, we are today, most of us are kind of not locked down, but almost, you know, we cannot do everything we would like to do in the world because of these problems, the pandemic, etc. So I guess in the metaverse, you can do a lot of things without the strings that we have in the real life. And I think that's quite interesting on a personal, I guess, point of view, and almost psychological point of view. And Krista, your take is more philosophical, and again, I'm very interesting to see that dimension and philosophical dimension you bring to the metaverse, which is, yeah, to be honest, is not the first layer or the first dimension I see, but obviously the great thing is we all see this through our own eyes and our own angles. So very, very interesting for me to hear this. I think my angle on this is a bit more materialistic, but I would say that in a way I hope that we also get to the point where we do abstraction not only of the social part and certain other parts, but also of the material part, in the sense that we start applying as a unit of measure of wealth something else. I mean, it could be of course crypto as a measure of wealth. It could be how much land you own on Sandbox, but it's quite important, I think, for our. It's quite an important dimension as well, because then we start living and we start communicating in a different way when the value of wealth changes, and where the wealth is not just owning a fast car, a yacht, or a mansion on the seaside, but the wealth is also owning something, virtual asset or art or land on a metaverse. And I think that can have a profound impact on material interactions in the future, between ourselves. So it's very, very interesting. Very interesting. Sebastien, I'll let you conclude. I think we're getting close to the conclusion part, so please.
All right. Well, I think we had a really interesting conversation where we didn't dive too much about the technical aspect of NFTs or community-driven that very often we hear as the common sense, but we went a bit further, looking at metaverse from the perspective of the next decade, on like how it can make like a profound social impact, as well as an impact into people's life and into people existentiality in a way, if I may say. And it's been a very thriving conversation. I feel very lucky we could have that conversation today, and I hope it will inspire the audience, and it will get them curious to come and visit that place in a way as like a starting point, visit the Mars house, have those interactions directly with Krista, and or maybe jump into Sandbox, own a land, own an NFT, to begin a first step toward that direction, and potentially join us into that future world that we're all building.
Can I just make one statement that I enjoyed this conversation so much. And I just wanted to, say to any artists out there, creatives, it's wonderful that we have the disintermediation of the artwork sales, and we're no longer giving, the 50% of our artwork sales to brick and mortar galleries. And the system is now shifting more into a hybridization of digital and physical. So I just wanted to urge, and encourage artists to consider getting behind a social impact cause that you believe in, whether it's sustainability of our environment or the oceans, plastics, pollution, anything that you are passionate about, and donate proceeds. Donate even a small amount. And if you have millions of people do that around the world, then you're making a profound impact. The power of the NFT. When I sold the Mars house, the majority of the sale is actually going toward the financing of the meditation tour that I'm starting in Toronto. I'm actually doing a tour that's about healing and sound and light. I'm doing these live installations that cost a ton of money each time. But if it weren't for the NFT, I would never have actually been able to push this project off the ground, because I was trying for many years before the NFT. So get involved in your communities and give back. Create social capital and make your communities better through what you do, through your NFTs, and the world will change. Thank you.
I can just double down on Krista. Like, we're donating percentage of proceeds of our land sale to charities, UNICEF, We Forest. We're buying carbon credit. We're contributing to regrowing forests in the real world, in Brazil, in Namibia, Ethiopia, and Madagascar. We already did it in the past. Everyone can make an impact like that. So please do it, basically.
Fantastic.
Thank you. And any closing word on your side, Eddy?
No, I think, well, I'm very optimistic as well on the future of Metaverse and NFTs, and the potential of NFTs to create these new connections between people and between artists, brands, as Krista was saying earlier, between different communities. And so my message as well is, I agree, is people come and try. You can create, you can just visit, you can exhibit, you can buy, you can sell NFTs. I think it's fun as well, of course. That's why you should do it too. And there are, thousands of things to discover and millions of things to come into that space. And I think that's great news for everyone. And I see a lot of interest as well from the investor community and the investment funds out there to come into this space, which will help to spur the growth of the whole sector and give more opportunities to people in general.
Well said. On that note, I'd like to thank you again, Krista, and you, Eddy, for this wonderful conversation. Thanks the audience, and wish you all the best, and see you in the metaverse. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.